In 1827, the botanist Robert Brown peered through his microscope at pollen grains suspended in water and noticed something strange. The tiny particles were dancing, jittering back and forth in an endless, erratic motion. At first, he suspected the pollen might be alive, but then he saw the same motion in dust collected from ground rocks, in fragments of glass, and even in particles scraped from a chunk of the Sphinx. Whatever this was, it had nothing to do with life. It was something deeper. For nearly 80 years, no one could explain it. Then in 1905, a 26-year-old patent clerk named Albert Einstein published a paper that finally did. The pollen grains were being bombarded by water molecules, invisible and innumerable, striking from all directions. Each individual collision was far too small to observe, but together they produced this visible, restless wandering. Einstein didn't just explain the motion qualitatively. He derived precise predictions for how far a particle should drift over time, how that drift depends on temperature and viscosity, and most importantly, how measuring this motion could reveal the size of atoms themselves. 3 years later, Jean Perrin tracked thousands of particle paths under a microscope. His measurements matched Einstein's predictions almost perfectly. This was the first direct experimental evidence that atoms truly exist. A simple jittering motion had settled one of the deepest debates in physics. That random jiggling now has a name. We call it Brownian motion. And once you know what to look for, it is everywhere. Stock prices fluctuate like Brownian motion. Heat diffuses through metal according to Brownian statistics. Bacteria, searching for food, trace out random paths that converge to Brownian trajectories. Even in some formulations of quantum mechanics, particles follow Brownian-like motion. To understand Brownian motion is to understand randomness itself in its purest continuous form. To describe this motion precisely, we represent Brownian motion as a function of time, usually written as b of t, which gives the position of a particle at any moment. Unlike an ordinary function, however, this one is inherently random. Each time you observe it, you see a different path through space, even when the physical conditions are identical. On one realization, the particle may drift left, on another it may drift right, and there is no deterministic curve hiding beneath the randomness. The randomness is not something layered on top of a trajectory. The trajectory itself is random. This immediately raises a deeper question. Among all the possible ways randomness could evolve continuously over time, why does this particular process appear so often? And what distinguishes Brownian motion from every other random motion one might imagine? The answer turns out to be surprisingly rigid. Brownian motion is not just one example among many. Once you insist on a few simple and natural conditions, there is essentially only one way a continuous random motion can behave. First, continuity. A Brownian path never jumps. If you plot position against time, you obtain a continuous curve, no matter how closely you zoom in. The particle does not teleport from one location to another. It wanders continuously, even though that wandering is endlessly jagged at every scale. Second, independence of increments. The motion over any time interval is completely independent of the motion over any other non-overlapping interval. If the particle drifts to the right between time 0 and time 1, that tells you absolutely nothing about whether it will drift right or left between time 1 and time 2. The process has no memory. Each interval starts fresh. Third, stationary increments. The statistical behavior of the motion depends only on the length of a time interval, not on when that interval occurs. Moving from time 0 to time 1 has the same distribution as moving from time 100 to time 101. The rules governing the randomness never change over time. And fourth, Gaussian increments. Over any interval of length t, the displacement follows a normal distribution with mean 0 and variance proportional to t. Short time intervals typically produce small displacements, while longer intervals produce larger ones, with the spread growing in direct proportion to the elapsed time. This final property has a profound consequence. Because the variance grows linearly with time, the typical displacement grows only like the square root of time rather than linearly. If you wait 4 times as long, the particle typically wanders only about twice as far from its starting point, not 4 times as far. This square root scaling is the distinctive fingerprint of Brownian motion, and it will quietly reappear in nearly every application that follows. The most intuitive way to see where Brownian motion comes from is to build it from something simpler, such as a random walk. Imagine flipping a fair coin repeatedly. Each time the coin lands on heads, you take a step to the right. Each time it lands on tails, you take a step to the left. After many flips, your position is simply the sum of all these small, independent steps. On average, you expect to end up at 0 because rightward and leftward steps cancel out, but you're almost never actually at 0. Instead, you wander away from the origin, sometimes by a surprisingly large amount, and the reason for this is variability. After n steps, the variance of your position is n, which means the typical distance from the origin grows according to the square root of n. After 100 steps, you're usually about 10 steps away. After 10,000 steps, about 100. The same square root scaling appears again. Now imagine refining this process. Instead of taking 1 step per second, you take many smaller steps per second. As you increase the number of steps, you shrink their size so that the overall motion remains bounded. The path becomes more detailed and more jagged, but also increasingly continuous. As this refinement continues, the random walk stops looking like a sequence of discrete jumps and starts looking like a continuous curve. In the limit, when the steps become infinitely small and infinitely frequent in just the right balance, the random walk converges to Brownian motion. This is a mathematical result known as Donsker's invariance principle, a functional version of the central limit theorem. Just as sums of independent random variables converge to a Gaussian distribution, paths formed from many small independent steps converge to Brownian paths. This explains why Brownian motion appears so universally. Whenever a system is driven by many small independent random influences accumulating over time, the fine details wash out and the large-scale behavior looks the same. One of the most important places this universality shows up is diffusion. Imagine placing a tiny drop of ink into still water. At first, the ink is concentrated in a small region. Over time, it spreads outward, gradually becoming more diffuse until it fills the entire container. At the microscopic level, each ink molecule follows its own Brownian path, constantly jostled by collisions with surrounding water molecules. After a time t, the position of each molecule is random, drawn from a Gaussian distribution whose variance grows linearly with time. The constant that controls how fast this spreading occurs is called the diffusion coefficient, and it depends on temperature, the viscosity of the fluid, and the size of the diffusing particle. Einstein derived an explicit formula connecting these quantities. Higher temperatures increase the diffusion rate. More viscous fluids slow it down. Smaller particles diffuse more rapidly than larger ones. From these microscopic rules emerges a macroscopic law. The concentration of ink satisfies the diffusion equation, one of the most fundamental partial differential equations in physics. What is remarkable is that smooth, predictable spreading at the macroscopic level arises from completely random motion at the microscopic level. If you start a Brownian particle at the origin and ask where it is likely to be after time t, the probability density forms a Gaussian centered at 0 with variance proportional to t. In one dimension, it spreads along a line. In two dimensions, it spreads outward in a circular pattern. In three dimensions, it expands as a growing sphere. The probability cloud widens steadily, never reversing or collapsing back inward. The same mathematics governs heat conduction in solids, the dispersal of pollutants in the atmosphere, the movement of animals through an environment, and the spread of genetic traits through a population. In all of these cases, Brownian motion acts as the microscopic engine driving large-scale transport. Brownian motion sits at the intersection of physics, mathematics, and probability theory as the canonical example of continuous random evolution. We use it when randomness accumulates gradually from many small independent sources. We avoid it when jumps dominate, when memory plays an essential role, or when rare extreme events control the dynamics. Its defining features are simple but powerful. The paths are continuous, yet nowhere differentiable. The increments are independent and Gaussian. The variance grows linearly with time, and the typical displacement grows like the square root of time. Together, these facts explain why diffusion spreads the way it does, why uncertainty grows slowly rather than explosively, and why Einstein was able to infer the existence of atoms from the jiggling of microscopic particles. From Robert Brown's microscope to modern stochastic calculus, from the proof of atomic theory to models of financial markets, Brownian motion connects phenomena across vastly different scales. It is randomness made precise, uncertainty rendered calculable, and chaos given a rigorous mathematical form. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing on YouTube. And if you would like to support the channel and help us create more content like this, you can find us on Patreon.